Welcome to the Fall 2024 Brainstorm event, which is sponsored by the Northern New Jersey Traumatic Brain Injury System and Kessler Foundation as part of our Model Systems grant. Luke Bohnenberger, a TBI survivor, will be presenting Recycling Pain, Pain to Purpose.
Welcome to our quarterly virtual speaker series. This series is sponsored by the Kessler Foundation as part of our TBI Model Systems grant, which is funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. It's now my pleasure to introduce Luke Bohnenberger, who will be presenting today Recycling Pain, Pain to Purpose. Nearly a decade ago, Luke's life was forever altered by a severe traumatic brain injury. But rather than let pain define him, he let it refine him. Luke chose to transform his challenges into a powerful message of hope and healing. Today, he's a coach, speaker, and advocate for TBI survivors and caregivers, using his journey to inspire others and provide a guiding light for those on their own recovery paths. Based in Greenville, South Carolina, Luke understands firsthand the struggles TBI survivors face and the need for connection, purpose, and support. Openly sharing his journey, Luke addresses topics like resilience, self-worth, and the strength to let go of the past. At the heart of Luke's journey is his family, his wife, and their two daughters, who are his deepest motivation and greatest inspiration. Luke is committed to leaving a legacy that supports survivors long after their initial recovery. He created his Vision to Victory coaching to help others find triumph in adversity and is building a career that uplifts the TBI community. Through his work, Luke embodies the belief that pain can be recycled into purpose. Thank you, Luke, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. I appreciate the wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you are here to join me today. I'm very blessed to be able to share my experience with you. I think it's important that while I share my story, it's not to impress you. It's to impress upon you the transformational power of pain. So I'd like to just first start off by once again saying thank you so much for taking your time off today to join me. I want to make sure that everyone is in a safe place and they feel safe to experience my journey. But the real thing about when I share my journey, I want you to see your own journey within it. As TBI survivors, even though we could share similar injuries, know that even though we can walk similar paths, that we all wear different shoes on that path. So I want to start off by saying that at a Les Brown speaking conference I was at many years ago, one of the speakers spoke words, and I said with me to this day. And it was a tombstone, showcases two dates, your birth and our passing. But it's the dash in between that truly defines us. And when I heard this, it resonated deep within me. And in a room of, it was like 200 something plus people, it fell silent as I began to think about what I accomplished within that dash, because all I could imagine on my tombstone was the reading 1996 to 2015. At 18 years old, my life was coming to an end. So I do not sit here to share my story, to paint this picture of an unstoppable force, that I was in some unstoppable force that instantly bounced off rock bottom, and with this great determination. The truth is so much rawer than that, guys, and it's so much rawer, it's so much human. And I want to let you know that 2015 marked a pivotal moment in my life, a day that was defined by choices. I think everyone here can agree that our life is a series of choices, that every choice we make has some consequence with it. It carries a consequence. Some of those consequences are small, some of them are big. Some of them can reshape our day, our week, our month, and a lot of people in this room, I know that some of those choices, those consequences reshaped our entire existence like it did mine. On March 13th, 2015, I made a choice. While headed to the gym that day, a normal day for me, it was just like any other day. Headed to the gym, I made a choice to remove my seatbelt literally just 5 minutes from our destination. I'm talking about, guys, I was literally getting off the exit. And I was the backseat passenger, where a lot of people think, I don't need a seatbelt, I'm fine. And I removed my seatbelt. And within that choice and the choice of the driver in front of us, who made a choice not to tie down his ladder on the back of his truck, the ladder flew off. The driver of the car I was in swerved to avoid it. And within seconds, I was thrown out of the back of a vehicle going 70 miles per hour head first. In that moment, death stood by me, now laying on a highway, bleeding, unconscious. My brain began to swell, and my life was coming to an end. That dash was shrinking, and the dates were beginning to come together. 1996 to 2015. I laid on that road, unconscious, and soon rushed to a hospital where my family received a call that until 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, I never could really understand. My mother and father received a call that their child, that their baby boy, their youngest child, was entering the last hours of his life, not minutes. And I say that, and I really could never understand it until recently, is because, and 4 years ago, my daughter was born. When I look at my daughter that day, all I could think about was that call my mom received, that call my dad received, that saying, hey, get to the hospital. Your son has been in a really serious accident. And that you need to call on the rest of the family that will keep them on life support till you get here to say your goodbyes. My mother had to face the reality of living a life without her child, to have game night that we had many times. I don't know about y'all, but I love game night. I'm a big fan of Uno. Breaks relationships up though, but it's a fun game. My family had to, my mother had to picture living a life with an empty chair at game night. My father had to face the reality of bearing his baby boy, while my friends and brothers sat in a waiting room with uncertainty and grief. Like I said, 9 years ago, when I heard, when I woke up from my coma and I was told this, of course I hurt for my family. But now having kids of my own, I can only pray that I can only ever imagine what my family went through that day. Fortunately, I had an amazing neurosurgeon that arrived and said, look, we can do a surgery, but it's still less than 5% chance of survival. It's called a craniotomy. Does anyone on this call know what a craniotomy is? You raise your hands, you can, okay, yeah. So in the craniotomy, for those who don't know, it's a surgery that's the process of removing a piece of the skull in order to allow the brain to swell. In my case, it was the entire right side of my skull that was removed. And like I said, if you Google it or anything, it's in almost every Google search, it's one of the most dangerous surgeries and that exists. Almost every Google search. And I went through it, but I wasn't just going through it, just the surgery. I was going through it where I just had a blood transfusion. My body was beaten. So, of course, wasn't looking good. 8 hours later, which, do we have any caregivers on the call today? Any caregivers? We can get raise of hands. Just let me know if there are any caregivers on the call today. So
I don't see any hands raised.
okay, that's okay. You don't need to be a caregiver to understand that this is a traumatic event for my family. Put through this, after 8 hours, the doctor came out and told them the good news, right? Said, your son survived. But soon, So I want everyone to do this. This is how I do it. And I know I'm going to be interactive with you guys. I'm going to be telling you to do stuff. But I want everyone to hold your breath for just 5 seconds. Everyone hold your breath. And then let it out. That's what my family, that feeling of finally being able to breathe again is what my family felt. That 8 hours that you just experienced 5 seconds, that 8 hours was what it was like for my family. That they couldn't breathe for that 8 hours sitting in that room. And they finally could breathe again. But I like to say, I do see we have a hand raised over there. But it says my name, so I'm not certain how that works. But the soon that good news was put into a box when they said, look, your son had survived, but he's probably not going to be the same ever again. That he sustained a severe traumatic brain injury. That he may never, now they were like, it's going to take 6 months to a year for him to be able to walk and function. But as far as his capability to function in society again, that might never happen. So now my family had to face the reality that their son might never be able to own his own house, have a family, do things that they grew up doing. So, like I said, that good news was placed into a box, is the way I put it. But as you see today, things began to fall together for me. Miracle after miracle began to just fall like dominoes. I recovered phenomenally. Within weeks, where they said 6 months to a year, within weeks, I was walking and talking. And the doctors I remember my neurosurgeon came in. He was just amazed. When he came in to the room, he had to walk back out the room because he couldn't believe who he was seeing. He didn't believe it. He didn't know. He's like, that's not the same guy I was just working on 3 weeks ago. I was smiling. I was functioning again. And where I was told it'd be 6 months to a year, I left that hospital a month and a week later, where I just woke up, left side of my body was paralyzed. I was not able to talk, function. I still had half the skull. I was leaving that hospital a month and a week. And I'd like to say my journey continued like that, but then I wouldn't be here with you guys. There wouldn't be much of a story to go, well, I was back to normal. I wouldn't have much of a story for you. When we got home, we expected my journey to reflect the same as the hospital, right? Just continue progress. But unfortunately, I got hit harder than the accident. And I feel like what I'm about to share with you, many of you have experienced this. It is not uncommon. It is not uncommon for someone with a traumatic brain injury to recover, and all of a sudden, months later, stuff starts to fall apart. Because a month, not 2 months after the hospital, I lost myself. I began to get angry. I began to have emotions that just didn't match up with what the situation was. Crying, putting holes through walls, hurting my family verbally, and even breaking into the physical, which was the hardest part. To see people I loved hurt by me. To see fear to the people closest to me was one of the hardest parts. And this anger, I don't even like to call it anger. I like to call it rage, just took over me. And to the point where eventually, when there was some clarity, I actually ran away and called 911 on myself. I remember the conversation with the officer. And I said, look, if I could hurt someone I love in an instant, this impulsivity, this rage, if I could hurt someone I love, I don't know what I would do to a stranger. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on with me. This is not me. I was losing myself. And a week after that, when these emotions kept piling on me. I don't even like to call it rock bottom because at that point I thought I hit rock bottom. I'd like to say I hit rock bottom and I kept digging a hole because eventually I decided to try taking my life. I was in the living room in my house. And a brain injury, as many of you raise your hand, brain injuries, right? You lost memory, right? Everyone, you've lost memory. Your memory's bad. But for some reason, your brain injury, your brain likes to keep the memories you don't want. It's like I forgot this, but your brain is, yeah, well, you're gonna remember this. I'm like, oh well, no, take that away. I don't want this anymore. I remember this as vivid as yesterday. I was sitting in my living room in the corner, and I don't even remember what brought on the emotions, but they were stronger than ever. I couldn't handle them. I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know when would be the next moment I hurt someone I loved. I just didn't. I just didn't know. And so I was in the corner of my living room and I had a knife to my throat. And I just said, I gotta, this is it. I'm hurting. My family can't live. They're constantly watching over me. My mom had to leave her job. My parents were in constant anxiety. When is my son going to hurt himself? When is my son going to hurt someone? They felt like they couldn't leave my side. And I felt like, is this surviving? This is what the miracle is of life? You hear after the hospital, which I'm sure everyone hears, oh, you're a miracle, you're a blessing. It's so good that you're alive. It's so thankful. And I just was like, for who? So I held that knife to my throat. And I just begged. I couldn't do it, but I just begged for it to be over. And I don't know what my stepdad said because my mom was in that room. At this point, there were officers in the room, talking to me, and nothing was getting through. There was just darkness and silence. And something my stepdad said, I wish I could remember, but I was able to step back, put the knife down, and eventually I was taken to a mental hospital. I share this story with you guys to let you know that that it's okay when we're overwhelmed. But there's a quote that I want to stick with you all. And if you have paper, I beg you to write this down. I beg you to write this down. And it's that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I'm going to repeat that one more time for everyone, because this resonated with me. And whether it resonated so strong with me because the moment I was in, when I heard it inside the mental hospital, but it's strong, and I want you to hold on to it. I want you to share it with everyone you know. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Now, can anyone on this call, I'm not asking you to get off and speak. You can type it. Has just by a show of hands, does that quote resonate with any of you as it did for me? Because for me, it still rings its bells. If it resonated with you, that means it's going to resonate with someone else. Today, we're talking about recycling pain. And one of the strongest ways to recycle pain is by sharing your story, because you today, what you've been through or what you're going through now, the truth is someone else is going through it too. The truth is someone else is going to go through it. So use your voice. Share this quote with everyone you know as it can change, it can save someone's life. And we'll get into this. So I'm excited. First of all, let's take a step back. Everyone breathe. We got a little emotional there. I don't know if it was just me. I got a little emotional. That's okay. Let's just breathe. And I'm really excited to share with you today how pain is a raw material. And you can let it define you. But I'm hoping that everyone here will let their pain refine them. Pain doesn't have to be your story, but can definitely transform you into a beautiful person that you will become. And I'm excited to be a part of that journey with you today. So are we ready, guys? As we sort of, I know 20 something minutes, but we're about to dive right into this, guys. And I wanted to share my journey with you because I want you to know that I'm here and I understand that I've been through it. And the truth of it, and I might be jumping ahead of myself, but my accident was in 2015. Some of you have just experienced your brain injury. Some of you are many years into it. My accident was in 2015. I didn't have my last brain surgery until 2019. So I'll say it one more time. 2015, last brain surgery was 2019, where they said where I had to get this complete side of my skull taken out again, and completely this whole side of my skull is prosthetic now, which is actually pretty neat. But I want to share this part of you, which, like I said, I'm getting out of order here, but I share my story. Things resonate. Some things I'm like, I got to get this out now because everyone here, we all have a brain injury, so we all forget stuff. So if I'm thinking of something, I got to say it right now. 2015, 2019 was my last brain surgery. Within that years, I did not just wait to start doing something. When you hear from a doctor, and this is something we've all heard, okay, well, probably in 3 to 5 years or 5 to 6 years, you'll find your baseline. That's where you're going to be at. Don't just assume that during your recovery, during the fact that you're still in your story, that you can't start living today. 2015, 2019, in 2019, I was engaged to my wife, a woman way out of my league. Still, that miracle I can't explain. I had a house, I had a job, I was coaching other survivors, I was living. So I share this with you that I didn't just 2015, 2019, I was just like, I gotta wait. I gotta wait until I'm fully recovered. To this day, guys, I just saw my neurologist just the other day for some hiccups. But that doesn't stop me from living. And I don't want it to stop you either. So let's go into pain. Let's figure out how to turn our pain into purpose, turn our pain into power, turn our pain into prosperity, turn our pain into something that's the most beautiful thing about us. Because the truth is, and you can write this down, this is a quote I have, and it's that rock bottom is a foundation to our success. I'll say that again. Rock bottom is a foundation to our success. That the people you meet on rock bottom, the lessons you learn on rock bottom, are the things that's going to propel you forward in life. That everyone here on this call has experienced pain. But I'll tell you something. I am a true believer that everything on this earth can serve us in some way. And that even means pain. If we can find purpose, if we can find true meaning within our pain, then it's easier to approach it. It's easier to transform it. So when we experience pain again, now I'm not saying you're going to get hit in the face and go, oh, I got to learn something. No, I'm saying when you experience pain, you can look at it from a different perspective. Go, okay, why is this here? What can I do to turn this into something? How can I learn from this? So first lessons first is what's the difference between pain and suffering? Now, I see we have some chats. I don't know if you want to share any of those chats with us because I see some people have been chatting. So let's first open up for some chats there. Jenny, can you read me some of those chats?
Or I don't think I see any. Serena, am I missing them?
Okay, I got them. I see them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, chats. So Gina Marie, thank you so much for this. I know realize MRI. I need to leave now. Okay. All right. I won't read your name. I see that they're direct messages, so I won't read your name. But I will say thank you guys for sending those messages. I hear you and I support you. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with me. I see the direct messages, so I'm not gonna read them out loud. But thank you so much, guys. I just want to let you know I do see them, and I do. And thank you, thank you.
And Luke, earlier Brenda had her hand raised. I don't know if she is, if the time has kind of passed for it, or if she wants to chime back
Okay,
in.
yeah, Brenda, go ahead.
Well, I was a caretaker, and you were telling my story as a mother, just getting that news, and my son was also on life support and had a plate in his head, and there was just a lot about the emotion that you talked about, that, and the anger, how the anger evolved over time. I mean, it wasn't right away, and I just appreciated you sharing that, and I just connected to what you were saying. So I thought I had my thing off for a while, and so I didn't know if you asked the question if someone was a caretaker, so I added that in the.
Thank you, Brenda. First of all, I'd like to take a moment. I can do it, and everyone else can stay off mute, but I want to give you a round of applause, Brenda. Thank you so much. I don't sometimes, and even caregivers really don't understand that this injury has impacted you just the same, just in a different way. Your life has changed, and you've taken on something. You woke up one day, and all of a sudden you've had to change things, just like the survivor. And I always do. I personally want to say thank you, Brenda. I know, but my mom, I can never imagine. Like I said, now having daughters, I I tear up even thinking about it. It's just a different form of pain that I could never truly understand. And I'm hoping today, while I talk about how we can recycle that pain, how we can use that, you find purpose within what you went through. Now, of course, I'm not saying, oh, let's go through it again or anything like that. I'm not. I'm just saying, I hopefully through this call, and you can even reach out to me afterwards, we can really discuss, or you can really understand that what you've been through, you can find meaning to it. There's that saying that everything happens for a reason. I like to look at things that everything happens. Let's find our reason. Let's search for it. When we approach life in a way that everything happens for a reason, we sort of like, okay, it happened, and sort of put it on the back burner. But when we say, okay, I got to find the purpose behind it, then we're moving steps and we're taking action on it. Okay. Thank you so much, though, Brenda, for sharing that. All right. So I asked the message, what is the difference between pain and suffering? So one person said, pain is a bodily feeling, suffering is an overwhelming feeling on the mind. Absolutely. That is absolutely one reason that there is a difference. But I'm looking for more of, does anyone else have anything? Because I want to see if someone else knows this. But absolutely, you are right. Suffering is this overwhelming feeling in the mind. Absolutely. If you do, you can come off mute. I see someone's
Hi,
yes. Hey, Lucia.
how are you?
I'm fantastic.
I think pain is temporary as opposed to suffering, which goes on for years, more and more. That's how I see it. Pain
Thank you.
is like physical pain, but suffering could be emotional, it could be other things. The pain, the suffering of not being who you used to be, the suffering of how, you lose certain people that you thought were friends. You get to see their true colors, the ones that stay with you throughout your journey is so important because they don't give
Absolutely.
up on you, whether it's family or friends.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But
You're go ahead. I'm
suffering
sorry.
is the worst out of all of it. I mean, my accident happened 8 years ago, 2016, and throughout, these past 8 years, I felt both actually, pain and suffering. The suffering doesn't go away. I think temporarily you can have fun. You have great days, you have bad days. But overall, the suffering, I mean, you can have moments where you remember exactly what happened, and then you realize the things that you lost. Like some people have aphasia. Some people can't remember the words that they want to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's in their brain, but they can't actually say it. And that's a difficult thing for me because I was a teacher and I had a master's and I was at a level where I thought that would be the rest of my life. And then after that, I had to stop working. And that I suffered from that. I was teaching over 25 years and it's not the same. I feel like I have to teach myself now how to do things. Like it takes
Thank you.
me way longer to do the things I used to do in like 10 minutes. And now it might take me an hour, but at least I do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. There's a lot of truth to what you said, but I do hope today, and of course, guys, everything I say here today, I'm not gonna say, oh, today I'll show you this and your life's got free for forever change. A lot of this we have to take into our practice and we got to find meaning to it. We got to find our own story to write into what I say today. So thank you so much, Lucia. So, and you bring me right to a point. So what the biggest difference between pain and suffering is I can't teach people how to recycle suffering. And so now you're like, oh, well, then why am I here? So let me explain. Pain is inevitable. So I got bad news. Everyone here has experienced pain. I got worse news. Unfortunately, everyone here, TBI survivor, caregiver, everyone in life, we're going to experience pain again. Pain again. Pain is inevitable. However, suffering becomes a choice. Let me explain because I don't want to feel like I'm not validating anyone's suffering. I want to explain this. Suffering is when we refuse to accept the pain. So when we're going through something painful, and pain is a lot of things. We have emotional, physical, spiritual, financial. The list can go on and on. Pain comes in many different forms. Suffering is the overall idea that we're not accepting this pain. We cling on, when it comes to brain injuries, we can cling on to who we used to be or how life should be. And that's where we get stuck. That's where I see, at least when it comes to brain injuries. And this is myself, guys. I want to let you know that I'm not saying that I'm like all this whole, I've done this. I've suffered. I come to suffer sometimes still today, but it's when we keep going, and I've done this. I remember wishing for the old Luke after my brain injury, the first year, going, I just want my old version of myself. And I'm sure by raise of hands, raise of hands or in the chat, who else has ever felt like they're stuck wishing for their old self? Yes. What I want you to know today is this new you is going to be the best you. I promise you. And I say this, and I'm not saying it's going to be like a flip of a coin. It comes with work. But if it was easy, everyone would do it. And the most beautiful parts of life is when we have to work for it and we have to push through resistance. So we're really going to be talking. The reason I want you to know the difference between pain and suffering is one of the first ways to recycle your pain is accepting it. And when we don't accept it, we suffer. So I can't teach you how to accept suffering. Everyone on this call, I can't help you recycle suffering. We're still stuck on it, not accepting that we're experiencing pain and trying to resist from it. So first thing is we have to acknowledge the pain. So you can write that down. But the first step in recycling pain is to accept that we are in pain, that we are in the situation we're in. So acceptance, though, this is clear. This is where it gets confusing. Me saying accept your pain isn't me saying giving up. Give up. Acceptance isn't giving up. Acceptance is about taking control. It's about choosing to work with your pain rather than work against it. So the reason I say it gets confusing and the reason there's a fine line between is when we go through stuff and we say, okay, I gotta accept this the way that it is, a lot of times that can come off as giving up. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? But it isn't giving up. It's going, okay, this is the situation I'm in. I gotta work with this. I gotta move forward with it. How though? How can I move forward with it? And that's what we're gonna get into. So today, I want us all on this call to accept we have a brain injury, right? I have a brain injury. I have a severe traumatic brain injury. I have problems. The other day someone asked me, they said, hey, the other day, as in, I always mess that up. My wife kills me. I say the other day, she was like, that was 2 years ago. Like it's still the other day. So like a year ago, 2 years ago, someone said, how long did it take you to get back to normal? How long did it take you for like to be back to being able to function and all this stuff? I said, well, I still take some mood regulators at that time, and I take 4 seizure meds or 4 pills, 2 seizure meds. I said, so if I was off of those medications, would it be normal? So it's a tough question. Like how long did it take you to get normal? First of all, I don't think normal is our goal. I'm gonna say it again. Normal is not our goal. I think normal is boring, honestly. Who wants to be normal? Right? It's boring. Exactly. I saw Eric. He goes, yeah, I see you, Eric. Yeah, normal's boring. Let's take out normal. It's time to be unique. Let's find uniqueness in our pain. So first we got to accept it and also find uniqueness to your pain. Find out how to make you unique. The next thing I want to share as far as recycling pain, my journey, is letting go. So this is letting go of our old self before our injury. This is letting go of old ideas, old beliefs. Now this is me. This is old ideas of like, for example, the old idea of I'm trying to think of an example here, but it's the idea of, oh, I'll be back to normal or I'll do this. Like I said, normal is not our goal. Okay. But letting go also, which is, I think everyone, at least the many people I spoke to, is letting go of toxic relationships. And that isn't just about talking about your partner. This is letting go of certain people in your life that aren't pushing you forward. And let me share a story with you. After my brain injury, I lost a lot of friends. I mean, lifelong friends. So before I continue, and you, like I said, you don't have to, this is up for you. Anything I say, you don't have to. But who else, after their injury, lost people? People you thought were, oh, they're here for me. I got them. They're stuck. Did anyone else lose people during their injury? Okay. Yeah. It's like, if I had a third hand, I'd put it up. If I had it. This isn't uncommon. And first of all, I want us to be empathetic for those people. And the reason why is there's a certain level of maturity that comes with it. This isn't just brain injuries, people. This is anyone that goes through a traumatic experience in their life. I've seen this with people with cancer. I've seen this with people with divorce. When people get divorced, I've seen it with anything traumatic. People let go. And the reason why people back out is because they don't understand. After my injury, the people that were in the car with me, guys, the driver and the passenger, I'm not friends with them anymore. And this wasn't my choice at that time. They didn't understand the new me. And I put quotations, right? They didn't understand the new me. They didn't understand why I was acting out this certain way. They didn't understand certain things about me. They took it personal. So one thing, guys, don't take things personal. They took things personal and I lost people. Now I had to let go. I had to release the people in my life who could not support me on my journey. Because this is another quote I want us to realize. If people aren't pushing you forward in your recovery, guess what they're doing? They're yanking the hell back. Excuse my language. Sorry. If people are not pushing you forward in your recovery, they're pulling you back. You have to have people in your this is honestly probably one of the most important lessons because I can teach you everything. You could have everything right in your life, but if you're surrounded by toxic people, you're going to develop those toxic traits. You're not going to develop more. Can we agree with that? Show of hands. I want to see it. Can we agree with that? Right? Have you ever seen those studies where it's like, there's certain, okay, I see Denise, you got your hand raised? Or is that, okay, you're saying you agree with that. Okay, sorry. So, yes. Have you ever noticed like a group of people you're hanging out with, or you see a group of people and they're all dressed the same? Like, they're all dressed the exact same. They all talk the same. I remember experiencing this when I went over to my friend's house, who I wasn't friends with for like a couple of years. And I went over there to hang out with them. And all of a sudden, I was like, everyone there that came was dressed the same except me. I was like, oh my gosh. I separated myself from these people and I became my own person. Sometimes that's important to do, guys. If people aren't supporting your recovery, you got to step back. But it's also important to surround yourself around good people. It's important to create a community. This, guys. We're family now, people. You join my call. We're family now. Reach out to me. I promise you, you're not going to Google Luke Bohnenberger and get someone else. I promise you. That is a unique name. So reach out to me. We're family now, guys. So step number one into finding purpose within our pain is we cannot do that if we're surrounded around toxic people. So we got to let go. But once again, this isn't about giving up. Yeah, I didn't give up on my friends. I just knew in order for me to grow, I had to let them go. So in order you to grow, there are people you're going to have to let go in your recovery. Okay, guys? Once again, raise your hands. Yeah, that's all. All right, let's agree to that. Now let's talk about my favorite subject on the best way to recycle your pain, and that's sharing your story. Who else here has shared their story? Come on. You have all of you now have an amazing story. All of you. You have a unique story that is going to change lives. So share. Here's the truth, and I'll never forget it. This is the truth. And this isn't a metaphor. This is the truth. Stories save lives. Stories save lives. When I was at my lowest point in my recovery, I heard stories from other TBI survivors. Their stories of hope, their stories, just like I'm doing for you today. And it was one of the reasons I didn't give up. When I was in that mental hospital, after that, when I was in that mental hospital, and I was at my lowest point. Like I said, I wasn't on rock bottom, guys. I had the shovel, and I was like, I'm gonna create another rock bottom. It was the stories inside that hospital. It was also in that hospital that I realized one of my weaknesses, or I thought was a weakness, my emotions, was one of my strengths. That because of my injury, my damage to my frontal lobe, my prefrontal cortex, my emotions were like just insane. They were just going all over the place. But because of that, I developed a superpower of called empathy. That when I was in that mental hospital, I mean, guys, I was so involved in these people's stories. I was crying more than them. They were like, "What? This is my story." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's so good." I was so deeply, I was because of my emotions, I was able to place myself in their story. I was able to really immerse myself in their story. And their stories honestly saved my life. First of all, it let me know that I wasn't alone. So I'm going to tell you this right now. It's so simple, right? This is the simplest part of your story is it lets people know they're not alone. And that is the biggest strength that you can give someone. We've all here felt alone, right? I felt alone. After my injury, I never even heard of a TBI. I thought it was like TBI. You tell me I got like some urinary tract infection? I didn't know what it was. I was like, you TBI, tuberculosis? I didn't know. So I was like, I didn't never met anyone else. I was like, I looked fine. I was walking. No one else understood me. So I felt alone. People thought I was emotionally breaking out. They were like, something's wrong with him. Like he's not acting right, When I was introduced into mental hospital, I met a guy named David. And David had the exact opposite of me. He had emotional flatness, which is once again, just like emotional, where your emotions can get very hyperactive. Emotional flatness is very common with people with brain injuries as well. I've worked with several people with emotional flatness. And when he shared this story and he shared his story with me, I was like, wow, like I wasn't alone. I actually was like, wow, I have it good. Like I was like, I have it good. And I remember that day I called my mom and I was like, oh my gosh, please, I'm so sorry for complaining. I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, when I get home, I'll do the dishes for a whole year. I'll do. I didn't, maybe a week at best. But share your story. Share it, please. Please share your story. Your story is beautiful. Now, I'm not saying you got to get up on stage or do a call with 60 something people. I'm saying it can be a one on one in person. Share your story. Once again, it's one of the beautiful things. We all know that stories make change lives, right? I mean, one of the most influential books is a book of stories. I don't even have to go on to prove that. I mean, it's stories change lives. So anyone in the call, I want to hear from you. Anyone in the call ever have a story they heard that just was like, wow, like I'm in your story. Like you're writing about me. Has anyone in the call ever experienced that?
Luke, I
Yeah.
think Lisa has her hand up. Lisa,
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Lisa. Are you
Okay,
just saying
can you hear me?
I can?
Okay. Well, I wanted to say I was in a head-on collision with a drunk driver in 1996. I went right back to college. It happened in July. I was back at college at UConn that January or the following January. Um, I didn't have any clue. I didn't like you, I didn't know TBIs existed. I knew there was like concussions and stuff, but anyways, I didn't things with my family got so bad with my parents and we ended up going to a support group. And to answer your question, listening to all of these people tell their stories, I sobbed through the whole meeting because these stories were nothing like mine, but we had roots that were in common. Anger, that rage you were talking about, the frustration, the loneliness, the not feeling like I fit in anywhere. And I just sobbed through that whole meeting. And that is when my healing began because I realized that those people were my family, where my own family doesn't see it the same way. I look fine, therefore I am fine. Therefore, my brain injury doesn't exist. And you also said earlier, getting rid of toxic relationships. With family, it's hard. So I've set boundaries. I still go to family dinners and everything, but I don't have to stay all night. I can eat dinner and go. And but back to the point, hearing all of those stories, that is when my healing began. And so thank you for this. I feel connected with you just over a video call. We are family. I know you understand what I've been through. And even though my journey isn't like yours at all, we have those roots that connect us. I know that rage. I kicked a hole through the sheetrock in my garage several times. I ruined doors in my condo by kicking them, punching them. I know that rage. Um, it's taken me a long time to heal, but you know, all right, thank you. I'm done.
Oh, no, no. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Every time someone opens up like that, I just want to give them a hug. Which during COVID, no one liked that. I was like, come here, and they're like, no, no, no. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. Thank you so much for sharing that with the group. Once, like you said, the support group, guys, this isn't just about sharing your story, it's about listening. Active listening is also a great way to understand that first of all, you're not alone. One of the lessons as well as recycling pain is it's not just important to understand your pain, but to understand other people's pain, to understand the perspective of a TBI. So after my brain injury, I didn't just, okay, this is my brain injury. What I did is I began to understand from a 3D perspective. So understanding your injury from a 3D perspective. So I'll explain what this means. For a brain injury, I didn't just understand first my perspective. I got perspective from doctors. So this is important. This is very important. It's very important to be a it's very important to be involved in your recovery. Now, what does this mean? You're probably like, I am involved. I'm the dang person with the brain. No, this is me saying, ask questions to your doctors. Ask questions to you. It's a collaboration. Be a part of your recovery. Don't just sit and just move through the motions. Ask the questions. Get the second opinions. Be a part of your recovery. So that's the second. The third is understanding your researching, whether this is from reading books, right? Everyone here, I highly suggest you read a book from about brain injuries. Whether just read, understand brain injuries, because what's important about that is when you read books, and all of a sudden, like 2 years, 2 months down the road, you start having a problem. You're like, oh my gosh, I read this in a book, and you can attack that situation or attack that problem before it even actually escalates. So, talk to your doctors, ask questions, talk to other survivors. Ask yourself questions, be vulnerable with yourself, get a 3D perspective of your pain. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing. So getting that 3D perspective. So we're close to ending, right? So it's at one. So
Yes, we got about 7 minutes left,
okay.
Luke.
So guys, I'm so sorry. I love you all. I always get really into it. I'm usually on stage. I'm like moving around, I'm like throwing myself. So first step in recycling pain. You can write these down. First step is you have to acknowledge your pain, guys. You have to accept it's here. Acknowledge it. Okay. So don't run from it. Whether you sit with it, write with it, speak it out. The first step in recycling your pain is you got to hit it head on. You got to face, you have to understand, okay, I have a brain injury. Get that 3D perspective. Understand it. Understand, okay, I have a brain injury. Ask myself about it. Write it down. Okay, here are the problems I have with my brain injury. Write them down, because the truth is, once again, what's the number one symptom from a brain injury? Memory loss. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Ask the questions. I always, and I think I saw one of the people I coach is on this call. I always say, if you got questions you want to ask for your doctor, write them down and bring it with you, because you're most likely, at least in my case, I've gone to my doctor and I've left and gone, dang it, I forgot to talk about this. And then I'm like, I got to make another appointment. They're not open for another 3 months, because that's crazy. So write it down. Be a part. Understand your pain. Write down. Journal. 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 I'm going to say it one more time in case you didn't hear me. Journal. All right, guys, journal. Really start to write things down. I don't care if you're an expert writer, right? Write it down. So acknowledge your pain, hit it head on. Next thing is finding meaning in the mess. Asking yourself when you're faced with pain, when you're faced with adversity, facing situations, ask yourself, what can I take from this? What is it can be the smallest thing. You could even say, okay, today sucked, but I'm going to talk about it with someone else, and I'm going to take this as an opportunity to share today with someone else. That's something, right? Small, it's something. Find lessons with the mess. How can I grow from this situation? I like to say this, and I always get this. This is my own quote, and I mess it up every time. So let me try this. It's a tongue twister. It says, a step back. We all have step backs. A step back is not a setback. If we're willing to learn from it, it's a setup for a comeback. I'll say that again because it's so confusing. Like I said, I get it confused. A step back isn't a setback. If you're willing to learn from it, it's a setup for a comeback. Can anyone share with me what that means to them? What anyone new want to share? When I say that, if you need me to repeat it because it's a tongue twister, tell me what does that mean? Going once,
I
going
think,
twice. Ah, go ahead,
sorry,
Michelle. Mitchell.
I'm
Sorry.
trying to get it. I guess, and it's really hard for me to hold on to it without writing it down right now and doing other things. But that you can learn from, I'd say, many things. And if you're doing what you, I don't want to say should, because I know that's like not a good word, but I guess paying attention to the things around you, your environment and everything. And then at the same time, I'm like, okay, even though I was listening, I'm like, okay, I feel like I should be listening more.
It's okay.
I'm
It's
sorry,
okay.
does that make sense?
No, you're perfect. I'm just happy you spoke up. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, you got to pay attention, guys. Life's happening. It's happening. Pay attention. Now, I'm not saying remember, like I said, brain injury, I still forget stuff, but pay attention. But pretty much what that means, guys, is when we have setbacks, which we all do, when we step backs, which we all do, if we take those moments and say, what can I learn from this? It wasn't a setback. It was absolutely worth the step back. Nothing. If we take advantage of learning something from everything, it's never a setback. And then the last thing to end this is we got to take action, guys. I can teach you. You can have everything in your arsenal. You can have everything you need, but if you don't take action, we get nowhere. We have to take action, guys. So it is 12:58, so I'm gonna leave 2 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. I feel like we get each other. Like I can ramble and we're all like, oh, we're all, we all get you. We're all on the same wavelength now. But I want to hear from y'all. Any questions? Any questions for me about my journey, about sort of what we've talked about here today? Nothing. That means I did good. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you get to be where you are now?
Thank you so much. So everything I've discussed, but it's important for me to say this, guys. It wasn't a straight road. It wasn't smooth. It was tears. It was broken glass. It was holes in walls. It was everything. The reason I got here today, number one, first, is the support system I had. That's why I really want to shout out to the caregiver, because if I didn't have the right support, I didn't have that right support system, I wouldn't have been where I am today. If I didn't have my mom and stuff. And I don't say this to discourage people that don't have that right support system. I say this because right here, where we're at right now, is your support system. It's just important to take action on it. So number one, the reason I'm here today is my support system, right? So that I would say that's the main reason. After that, it was just the willingness to learn from everything I went through.
Well, Luke, unfortunately, we are at 1 o'clock, and we really want to thank you for being here with us today. If anyone would like any more information or to reach out to Luke, please visit lukespeaks.com.
Missed our past events? Scan the QR code or go to bit.ly/KFTBI research to view them. Interested in participating in our research remotely or in person? Scan the QR code or go to kesslerfoundation.org/join.